The Attorney General of the United States, the person whose literal job it is to prosecute crimes, was just confronted with photographic evidence of a foreign royal attending events with a trafficking victim, a video of the president socializing with a convicted trafficker, and a sworn witness statement alleging assault, and her response was to say it's all ridiculous. Because Donald Trump has done so many great things. That's the top law enforcement officer in America, not investigating, not prosecuting, not even pretending to care. Just running defense for the most powerful men on the planet while survivors of an abuse ring sat 10 feet behind her and she refused to turn around and look at them. So this past Wednesday, Attorney General Pam Bondi appeared before the House Judiciary Committee for what was supposed to be a general oversight hearing, basically where Congress checks in on how the DOJ is doing its job, and it turned into one of the most explosive confrontations we've seen in a congressional hearing this year. Representative Ted Lieu of California used his time to confront her piece by piece with photographic evidence, video footage, and a sworn witness statement tying both Prince Andrew and Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein's operation, and her responses were, with all due respect, absolutely staggering. As usual, let's watch the hearing, and I have a breakdown for you later in the video.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here today. I'm going to show you two photos.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you two photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, that we redacted the victim's
Because you were following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have now established that please put the photos back up, that we are looking at a trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." These two photos, please put the photos back up. These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General and set before
I agree with you.
You twice.
I'm reclaiming my time. I agree with you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures, but you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. So I want to move on to another man.
Can I answer
Donald
that,
Trump.
though?
I want to move on to another question.
Can I answer your question about protecting
You answered the question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's the video. Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
I'm reclaiming my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
President Trump asked
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock.
Stop
the clock.
The legislation. This is
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was gonna stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
May I respond?
Yeah, I don't know how you respond. No one can.
I did not ask a question, Ms.
He doesn't
You're allowed
want to talk
to.
about
I did
the
not ask a
horrific
question.
crime in California. He does not want to talk about
I did not ask a
crime
question.
in his
She
state.
can't just
Madam
add
Attorney
lib stuff.
Going
I
after
did not ask a
Donald Trump.
question.
Meeting will be in order. The gentleman has yielded back his time. I think our next witness will be more.
If you feel angry, that is the right emotional reaction to watching the nation's chief law enforcement officer dismiss evidence of child exploitation as a distraction from all the great things Donald Trump has done. You're not overreacting. You're paying attention. But here's what you need to know that you didn't get from that exchange alone. What Lieu was referencing, the July memo that closed the investigation into Epstein's accomplices, has a very specific and very damning backstory. According to reporting from NPR and a detailed letter from the top Democrat on the committee, Jamie Raskin, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, known as SDNY, had been actively investigating the people who helped run Epstein's operation for years. Nearly 50 survivors had provided detailed testimony to SDNY prosecutors and FBI agents, identifying at least 20 men by name. These weren't vague tips. These were formal, on-the-record interviews documented in official FBI interview reports. And then, in January 2025, the Trump DOJ ordered the case files transferred from SDNY in New York to DOJ headquarters in Washington. According to Raskin's letter, neither the survivors nor the SDNY prosecutors were told the purpose of this transfer was to terminate the investigation. The investigation simply stopped. No more interviews. No more subpoenas. And then in July 2025, the DOJ issued a 2-page unsigned memo declaring they found no evidence to justify investigating anyone else involved. That's the actual language, uncharged third parties, because even the way they wrote it sounds like they're trying to make you stop reading, effectively closing the book on every single one of Epstein's associates. Now, here's where the receipts get really damning. In February 2025, just 17 days after she was confirmed, she went on Fox News and told host John Roberts that Epstein's client list was, and this is a direct quote, "sitting on my desk right now to review." She said that on camera, on Fox News. And then 4.5 months later, her own department released that unsigned memo saying no such client list exists. So either she had the list and buried it, or she fabricated having it in the first place, and somehow neither option has resulted in any accountability whatsoever. I genuinely cannot imagine a scenario where I tell my boss something is on my desk, and then months later say it never existed and keep my job, but I also don't work for this administration, so maybe the standards are different. And it gets worse. The administration didn't just close the investigation, they appear to have rewarded cooperation with burying the case. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's convicted accomplice serving a 20-year sentence, was interviewed by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who, by the way, is Donald Trump's former personal defense attorney, in July 2025. During that interview, Maxwell denied seeing any inappropriate behavior involving Trump. And less than 2 weeks later, she was quietly transferred from a low-security prison in Florida to a minimum-security prison camp in Texas, a facility that, according to House Judiciary Democrats, was previously completely off-limits to convicted offenders of her type. Maxwell is now publicly requesting clemency, essentially a deal to get out early in exchange for testimony. When Representative Deborah Ross pressed her on who authorized the transfer at this very hearing, she claimed she didn't even know about it. She's the Attorney General. The Bureau of Prisons, the agency that runs every federal prison in the country, reports directly to her. But sure, she had no idea. So when she says, there is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. What she means is we transferred the case away from the prosecutors who had the evidence. We stopped all investigative activity. We issued an unsigned memo declaring there's nothing to see. And now we're pointing to the absence of an investigation as proof that no investigation was warranted. That's not transparency. That's a magic trick. And Lieu was exactly right to call it what it was. And here's the language you can use when someone tells you this, is just partisan theater. Nearly 50 survivors gave detailed testimony, naming over 20 men. The DOJ transferred the case to Washington and terminated it. The Attorney General claimed to have a client list she later said doesn't exist. A convicted trafficker was transferred to a lower security facility after providing favorable testimony about the president. And every single Epstein survivor who showed up to that hearing raised their hand when asked if the DOJ had refused to meet with them. These claims are supported by documented testimony, official transfers, and the department's own memo. And they lead in one direction. So, what does this actually mean going forward? If you're someone who believed the promise that everything is going to come out, and a lot of people did, across the political spectrum, you've now watched that promise dissolve in real time. The administration used the Epstein files as a campaign prop, dangled them in front of the public, handed binders to influencers at the White House, like party favors, and when it came time to actually prosecute the men who exploited these victims, they shut down the investigation and declared mission accomplished. It's like if your mechanic promised to fix your brakes, charged you for the repair, and then just put a bumper sticker on your car that said brakes fixed and sent you on your way. According to the DOJ's own memo, Epstein harmed over 1,000 victims. 1,000. And as Lieu pointed out, not a single man who used that operation has been held accountable under her watch. What we're watching is the Justice Department being converted from a law enforcement agency into a personal protection service. The same DOJ that has found the resources to investigate Jerome Powell, James Comey, Letitia James, and reportedly attempted to indict 6 sitting Democratic members of Congress somehow cannot find the resources to interview a single witness about the president's ties to a convicted trafficker. As Republican Representative Thomas Massie, the co-author of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, the law requiring the DOJ to release everything said at this very hearing, the DOJ's handling has been a massive failure. When your own party's members are calling you out, that's not partisanship. That's a bipartisan acknowledgement that something is being buried. And even conservative commentators like Erick Erickson have said she should be fired or resign. Joe Rogan said the whole thing looks terrible for Trump. Even the people who helped put this administration in power are saying what everyone can see. And for what? What is this all for? To protect Prince Andrew? To shield unnamed billionaires whose names keep getting redacted and then unredacted only when a congressman catches you red-handed, as Massie put it, to protect a president who once said of Epstein, and this is a real quote from 2002, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." That's who the entire machinery of federal law enforcement is being deployed to protect, not the 1,000+ victims. Not the survivors who showed up to that hearing room, stood up, raised their hands, and were told by the Attorney General that their pain was theatrics. And it's worth noting that this isn't just Democrats raising the alarm. Even far-right voices are turning on her. Podcaster Tim Pool acknowledged the administration has miserably handled the Epstein files. And Republican Representative Nancy Mace told CNN she's personally lost all faith in the Justice Department, saying, and I think this is exactly right, you can't have thousands of victims and have no other accomplices other than one. Look, when Kyle Rittenhouse and Jamie Raskin agree on something, you know you've really achieved something special. As of today, the DOJ has released approximately 3 million pages of Epstein-related files, but lawmakers and survivors say critical documents, including FBI victim interviews, internal documents about who to charge, and hundreds of thousands of emails remain withheld. There are, according to the DOJ's own figures, over 1,000 victims, 0 new prosecutions. Ghislaine Maxwell is in a minimum security prison requesting clemency, and every single survivor who showed up to that hearing raised their hand to confirm the DOJ won't even meet with them. This is about how evidence is treated and whether the rules are applied the same way to everyone. It's not about going after Trump. This is about a fundamental question that every American should be able to answer the same way regardless of party. If the Department of Justice has evidence that powerful men participated in a child exploitation network photographs, sworn testimony, FBI tips should they investigate it, or should they close the case and call anyone who asks about it ridiculous? If you have to think about that for more than half a second, The problem isn't the question, because here's the darkest part. Her defense wasn't even a defense. She didn't say the evidence was weak. She didn't say they'd reviewed it and found it wanting. She didn't offer an alternative explanation. She said it was ridiculous that anyone would bring it up when Donald Trump has done so many great things. That was the answer to 1,000 victims with survivors in the room. Great things. If you found this helpful, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments below. Share it with anyone who should be part of this conversation. Click the bell icon so you don't miss future updates. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.